Good morning, everyone. Let's join in our opening hymn, Lift Every Voice and Sing. And there's going to be a fabulous introduction before we come in, so just be aware and be patient. Here we go.
Good morning, everyone. Please be seated. Welcome here, everyone, to First Unitarian Church. We're located in Portland, Oregon, and we gather here in person and we gather virtually from many, many places. We're a multi-generational community where we strive to grow spiritually and together to build a beloved community. After the service today, I invite you to join fellow congregants for a social hour. To join virtually, you'll see a web link and a QR code after the service. And here in person, we will gather in Fuller Hall, which is immediately below this sanctuary. We're entering the season of Lent in the Christian tradition. On February 22nd, we'll hold a special Ash Wednesday service this year. That's a week from this coming Wednesday. This will be a special service of music, and it will include a ritual of receiving ashes as a way of entering this period of reflection leading up to Easter. Reverend Alison will preach on a Lenten theme on February 26th, 2 weeks from today, and beginning on February 27th and continuing through April 3rd, the spiritual directors of our congregation will be offering a series of Matin services. Those will be on Monday mornings from 8:30 to 9, and they will be on Zoom. These will be short services of music, poetry, reflection, and prayer in preparation for Good Friday and Easter. You can sign up for those services on the church website on the registration page. So once again, welcome everyone on this winter morning. It's good to be together. Let's take a time now to greet one another online and here in person. And now Reverend Alison has a special update for us.
Members and friends, I bring you an important update on the status of our campaign for 2023. Especially vital right now as we prepare the budget for the fiscal year ahead, which begins on July 1st. 690 individuals and families have joined the campaign, and together I want you to know that we have pledged a total of $1,360,000. Yes. It reflects a great deal of generosity from our community, so thank you. Now, it is 60 less pledges so far than the campaign for 2022, but I am told that some of the folks in the congregation really like to come in and fuel the budget for next year. So this is the siren call that would be now. We are 85% of the way towards the $1.6 million that we hope to raise. Last year, some of you may remember that we benefited from an extraordinary one-time gift that allowed us to reach our overall budget, along with the board drawing down once again on our reserves, which we cannot always do. This year, we're circling back to you with the goal that many of us can join together and close the gap for 2023. On one hand, I want you to know the takeaway is that we are fortunate. We are hearing from Unitarian Universalist congregations and other faith communities that they are down in giving this year, and if anything, our results look stronger than others that we are hearing about. On the other hand, don't miss this. Cutting $240,000 from the budget will mean drastic cuts in our ability to fund our worship and music, our religious education, our social justice, our caring, our community building, our communications, and the upkeep of the physical and virtual spaces where everything happens. The other thing I want you to hear, too, is that on one hand, the bad and then the good, maybe some of the pledges units are down because we're down. We were down last year 200 in our enrollment in our children's and youth RE classes. The good news, the trend is reversing this year, and we are headed forward, but it's a critical time for us to do what we can. We need generosity at all levels. You and you who have a great capacity, and you who've told yourself that what you have to give doesn't matter, do not hear that from me. Every $500 and $5,000 cut is painful. So here's how you can help. If you've already shared a pledge for the Rooted and Ready campaign for 2023, thank you. I'm asking if you can consider giving another pledge to this Close the Gap campaign for 2023. My family is in this category, and David and I will be marching out into the narthex to hand in a second pledge for next year. If you haven't had a chance to give to the campaign for 2023, please do know that everything we do is made possible by the financial gifts of members and friends and visitors. If you're visiting for the first time today, no, I'm not asking you to join the campaign. Be our guest for a while and then help us co-create this community. How can you join the Close the Gap campaign for 2023? You can fill out a pledge form today in the narthex, the space just outside this sanctuary, or you can go to the link tinyurl.com/close-the-gap, as you can see right there on the screen. Thank you for all of the ways that you share of your time, talent, and treasure. Acts of generosity are one way that we show up for each other, for the world, and for our faith. Thank you for your gifts. They make a difference.
Thanks, Alison. Our chalice lighters today are the Shulk Tirado family. They'll light our chalice, Joaquin, America, Anna, and Roberto. Good morning. You guys ready? We are Unitarian Universalists. We light this chalice in faith, in hope, and in love.
I just want to say, when the Spirit moves you, I say move. I saw some people moving around the room. Thank you to the choir for moving us this morning. Let's see. Our call to worship, the words are by Kathleen McTeague. Into this home. Into this home, we bring our hunger for awakening. We bring compassion and a will towards justice. Into this home, we bring the courage to move on after hard losses. Into this home, we bring our joy and gratitude for ordinary blessings. By our gathering, we bless this place. In its shelter, we know ourselves to be blessed. Let us join in singing, Answering the Call to Love. The words of our responsive reading are by the Reverend Mark Morrison Reed, author of many important books, including Black Pioneers in a White Denomination. It is titled, The Task of Religious Community. The central task of the religious community is to unveil the bonds that bind each to all. once felt, it inspires us to act for justice. The religious community is essential, for alone our vision is too narrow to see all that must be seen, and our strength too limited to do all that must be done. Together, our vision widens and our strength is renewed. Let us join in our doxology.
In response to the devastating earthquake that struck regions of Turkey and Syria this week, we're sharing our plate this morning with Portland-based Mercy Corps for immediate disaster relief efforts. I'm told that this morning, the death toll is now over 30,000 people, just to name that here. Mercy Corps released a statement of deep concern that this latest crisis will worsen the already fragile humanitarian situation in parts of northwestern Syria, where Mercy Corps currently works. 4.1 million people were already hungry in that region, and now the earthquake. Food insecurity worsened since the war in Ukraine started, with prices of essential food items spiking and shortages of staples in many, many communities being experienced. Our contribution will help Mercy Corps' team in Syria get critical supplies to impacted areas. If you'd like to give as part of our offering today and you're watching online, you can look for a QR code or find the donate button on Boxcast. If you're here in person, you can find that QR code on a yellow slip that should be in one of the chair holders around you. Or if you'd like to donate cash or check, you can find an usher after the service. Thank you for your generosity as we take up this collection today. We make space in our service each week to hold the concerns of our community life together. Just a reminder that each Sunday you can light a candle of intention. If you're here in person in one of our galleries, you can write down a prayer request, and those are held by our ministers and our lay ministers through the week. And if you're watching online, you can send a request to prayer at firstunitarianportland.org. A reminder, too, that we have a dedicated team of ministers and lay ministers who offer pastoral support, and just call on us when needed. We have no individual concerns to name this morning, but we know that each Sunday as we gather, we bring the concerns of our lives, large and small, and so we make a space to hold all of that here now. And in that spirit, will you join me in prayer? Spirit of life and of love, God of many names and of no name, hear our prayers this day. Help us, Spirit, to begin first in gratitude for the blessings we know, for sunshine, for signs of spring, for the people in our lives, for this community. May the awareness of those blessings help us to make a space to be present with the world in all of its beauty and all of its brokenness too. May we make a space to mourn all who suffer, especially this day those impacted by the earthquake in Turkey and Syria, all those whose lives closer to home are cut short by gun violence, all those who know despair and isolation, all those whose situation we may not want to see as our own, but is part of our lives too. May we take up the work of building a community worthy of the name beloved, here close by, and one that might reach far and wide, Spirit. And as we imagine, as we strive to make real that love, may we never forget that we too are part of that love. May that love ground us, may it hold us, and remind us, Spirit, that it will never, ever let us go. Amen. Let's keep silence now for a time together. Let's remain seated as we sing together, Love Makes a Bridge.
This morning, I'd like to share an old parable with you. It's called the parable of the perfect heart. Once upon a time, in a small town, there lived a young man who believed he had the most beautiful heart in the whole valley. He was so proud of his heart that he walked around the town showing it off to anyone who would listen. People were amazed at the sight of his heart. It was perfect, without a single mark or flaw. One day, as the young man was boasting about his heart, an old man appeared in the crowd. The old man told the young man that his heart was not nearly as beautiful as his own. The crowd and the young man were shocked when they saw the old man's heart. It was beating strongly, but full of scars, and some pieces had been removed, and others had been added, but they did not fit quite right, and there were several jagged edges and tears. The people were confused. How could the old man say his heart was more beautiful? The young man laughed at the old man's heart and said that his was perfect, while the old man's was a mess of scars and tears. The old man then explained that every scar on his heart represented a person to whom he had given a piece of his heart. And in return, they had given him a piece of their own. Although the pieces did not fit perfectly, the old man cherished each rough edge, as it reminded him of the love they had shared. The deep gouges represented the times when he had given love but had not received it in return. However, he chose to keep these spaces open, reminding him of the love that he had for these people, and he hoped one day they might return and fill the space. The young man was moved by the old man's words and realized that true beauty lies in giving love, even if it means facing the pain of the empty gouges. Trembling, he took a piece of his own heart and offered it to the old man, who accepted it with gratitude and filled the young man's heart with a piece of his own scarred heart. The young man's heart was now not perfect anymore, but it was more beautiful than ever, as it was filled with love from the old man's heart. They embraced and walked away together, side by side, symbolizing the bond of love and the true meaning of beauty. The parable of the perfect heart teaches us that love is not about having an untouched heart, but about giving and receiving love, even if it means facing the pain of unrequited love. It teaches us that the beauty of love lies in its imperfections, and that true beauty is found in the scars and jagged edges left behind. At this time, I invite you to locate the paper heart that you were given when you arrived this morning. And if you didn't receive one, please raise a hand now if you'd like one so that one of our ushers can bring one to you. Now, hold your heart out in front of you and take a good look at it. And now I'd like you to take it and tear it in half down the middle. Now you have two pieces of a heart. And in a moment, look around you and connect with someone nearby. And I invite you to offer one of your pieces to them. And if someone offers you a piece of their heart, will you consider giving them one of yours? Let's take a moment to do this. Trade a piece of your heart with someone nearby. So now we each have two pieces of a heart again. One piece that was our original heart, and one that someone else gave to us. So take another moment to look at your heart now. What do you notice about how it has changed? Thinking back to the story, how do you think about it now, your torn, fragmented heart? A heart is a universal symbol of love, and when we all join our hearts together, each of our beautiful and imperfect hearts, we can do or create something awesome. This big, beautiful star in front of me is going to serve as a surface for us to create a mosaic out of all of our hearts. A mosaic is a piece of art that is made up of many small pieces. And right now, the two pieces of your heart may not hold together very well, but when they join the mosaic of many hearts, they will hold strong. So there are two ways to add your heart to our mosaic. As the music from our choir begins, we invite you to bring it up yourself as you are moved and place your heart where you like. Or our ushers will be coming through with baskets if you'd like to lay your heart there to be brought forward and placed on the mosaic on your behalf. If you put your heart in the basket, simply overlap the pieces and use the sticky part to hold them together. The two parts will be reformed into a heart when they are placed on the mosaic. And if you're at home, I invite you to take a moment to put your hands over your heart, and I hope that you feel the love coming your way from this community. Reverend Tom and I will go to the floor now to help with creating our mosaic.
Thank you.
I love being up here with all of you as a star is being created, as the music is being shared, as words are being spoken. The parable of the perfect heart is a reminder that what really matters is the love that we give away, the love that we show for ourselves and others, and our love in action, which is what is happening now. As Bell Hooks, the well-known Black Buddhist Christian scholar of theology, race, gender, and class, wrote, "The word love is most often defined as a noun. Yet all the more astute theorists of love acknowledge that we would all love better if we used it as a verb. Hearts in motion, forming a star, is love." One of the challenges is that the English language uses just one four-letter word to describe many different qualities of feelings, relationships, and the ensuing actions that might arise from those feelings and relationships. And let me demonstrate what I mean. I love my husband. I love my son. I love you, my congregation. I love God. I love earth. I love to swim. I love museums. I love my uncle's empanadas. I love the Yankees. Is that okay to say here? I love a good pun. I love old furniture with a story, which is perfect working in a church. I love the sound of a harp. I love the color blue. And I love photos on Facebook. How can it be that the very same word would describe my relationship to all these people and all these things? Love may be the most overused and under-thought about expression. The ancient Greeks had different words for the varieties of love. Eros described romantic love, passion, sexual desire, and came from the Greek god of fertility. Philia described the love between friends and the feeling of kinship in a family. There was also a love called storge, connected in some ways to philia, which describes the love between a parent and a child. Ludus described a playful love that is experienced at the beginning of courtship and might just be witnessed at a high school or college dance. Agape was a selfless love that unlocked compassion for all beings. Pragma described the quality of love between two people as it matured through understanding, compromise, daily acts of care, commitment, and recommitment over decades. Philautia described love of self, and it was understood that there were two versions. One was unhealthy and promoted narcissism, while the other enhanced your capacity to love others. Unitarian Universalists often describe what is most essential about our faith with one word. Can you guess what it is? Love. In fact, in the mid-1970s, Robert Miller, a professor at Tufts, conducted a study, no relation to me, and he found that Unitarian Universalists ranked loving as an instrumental value and mature love as a terminal value more highly than did respondents from any other group, religious or non-religious. So that's something particular about us when compared to other groups of religious and non-religious folks. We choose love as the highest value as the North Star towards which we are heading. Instrumental values are ones that guide our actions, and terminal values are what we are moving towards. So we value love as the path and the destination. Many Unitarian Universalists have shared that love is the common theological grounding beneath our 8 principles. And when the board of the Unitarian Universalist Association charged an Article 2 commission to explore a fresh articulation of our principles and purposes, the following was in bold. We therefore charge this commission to root its work in love with a capital, and we tend to not capitalize God, so let's pay attention. We therefore charge this commission to root its word in love as a principal guide in its work, attending particularly to the ways that we and our root traditions have understood and articulated love and how we have acted out of love. Come to the February 26th board forum to find out what the proposed new expression of Article 2 of our principles and purposes will be. In Robert Miller's research, he found that many Unitarian Universalists included these words, love, compassion, connection, and community, as elements that get at the core of our faith. Although we only passed the 8th principle less than 2 years ago in 2021 in our congregation, which calls us to dismantle racism and other oppressions and to build the beloved community, our faith has been headed in that direction for a very long time. Unitarian Universalists are compelled by the form of love called agape in Greek. It is the love that the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. preached about and acted on over and over in his life. It is a love overflowing for all of humanity. It is a love that moves us to include care for our neighbors, the ones we like, and, listen children, the ones we don't like. As King wrote, it is a love that doesn't discriminate between worthy and unworthy people. Agape makes no distinction between friends and enemy. This quality of love requires courage and a fierce faithfulness to a universalist view of the human family. King spoke about the scars on the soul of humanity and in the hearts of both the oppressed and the oppressor. His practice of nonviolence was rooted in a belief that only love of self, God, and neighbor was strong enough to repair what was broken in our nation and our world. Perpetuating the cycle of violence and hatred would only breed more violence and hatred. And King said this, agape is not weak. It is not a weak, passive love. It is love in action. Agape is a willingness to go to any length to restore community. However, this form of love does not mean acceptance of another's violence, hatred, and oppression. No, love is courageous. Love is creative. The opposite of love is fear, which is destructive. What kind of fear? We see this in our society, the fear that we don't have enough, fear of others, fear of difference, fear of uncertainty, fear of change. All these are examples. Fear fuels the illusion that we are separated into camps of who is worthy and who is not, which is exactly what Unitarian Universalists struggle against. Fear leads to brutish displays of violence, such as the people who stormed the Capitol building when they didn't get their way, and the manipulative power plays such as limiting the access to the vote. Courage may be quieter than fear, but when it stems from a love of self, God, and all our neighbors, it is stronger and will ultimately have the last say. The root of the word courage is cor in Latin, which means heart. Courage is about acting and speaking from the heart. It is about embodying an ethic of love through our lives for self and others in ever-widening circles. It is Black History Month, and today is actually the anniversary of the founding of the NAACP, which many Unitarian Universalists were involved in helping to launch. An organization that has fought tirelessly against injustice, against racism, and promoting laws and policies that lead to countering oppression and the beloved community we dream about. Today, I want to share a story that I am guessing many of the adults are familiar with and that I want our children to know. It is about a shero of the NAACP. Rosa Parks led the youth division of the NAACP in Montgomery, and she is perhaps best known for having the courage to stay seated. A quiet, nonviolent, but revolutionary act. Like Tyree Nichols, she was headed home from work. At the time in 1955, there were seats reserved for white folks in the front of the bus and Black folks in the back of the bus. And for those who are younger and maybe take the bus to school every day, imagine that people were separated into worthy and unworthy. Right there, a visual image of something that is an illusion, a falsehood, and not true. Now, the seats in the front with white people filled up, and so the bus driver asked Rosa Parks and 3 other Black men to get up and move further back. Now, the men gave up their seats, but Rosa Parks would not be moved by fear that day. She says of the experience, "I had given up my seat before, but this day I was especially tired. Tired from my work as a seamstress and tired from the ache in my heart." 4 days before, she had learned about the acquittal of Emmett Till's murderers. Emmett Till is a young Black boy who was beaten to death over a false rumor. Rosa Parks had had enough heartache. She would take a stand by staying seated. She was arrested for disobeying the bus driver, and this significant act sparked the Montgomery boycott, one of the seminal events of the civil rights era, and in many ways, the launching of Dr. King's leadership. Rosa Parks said, "You must never be fearful about what you are doing when it is right." It was an act of self-love and love of neighbor. It was about her freedom and how it was inextricably linked with the freedom of the Black community and ultimately all our neighbors. For if anyone is told that they belong in a camp that is unworthy in the back, then any one of us could be told we belong in the back. Her vision and her action was about collective liberation. Today, you may hear rhetoric about liberty and freedom that is about individual liberty and freedom. This is not a freedom grounded in love. This is not the freedom to which we are called. Liberation is the movement that is fueled by love and that guides us on a path toward the beloved community, the ultimate destination that pulls on the heartstrings of Unitarian Universalists. It is the end of all of our theologies. It is the end of all of our secular moral understandings. Womanist theologian Karen Baker Fletcher writes, "Theology then should be written from the heart, from the place where we are most honest. If we don't write from the heart, how can we act from the heart? If we write what we cannot act on, our theology is lifeless." Rosa Parks offers us a powerful formula for a life of faith. What is the source of your heartache? That is the starting place for how love can guide you to make a difference. Love, after all, is the most powerful force. In fact, it literally heals hearts, and I love it when science proves theology. It turns out that when we have a heart attack, when our hearts are literally broken, love is necessary for true healing and repair. You see, a heart attack leads to damage in the heart muscles, the cardiomyocytes that generate the heart contractions. And our bodies often replace those damaged cells with scar tissue, which can ultimately lead to failure if untreated. However, oxytocin, the love hormone that helps us to bond with other human beings, literally our call because of nature and our theological call because of nurture, oxytocin causes stem cells to become new heart muscle. It leads to repair. And cortisol, which is another hormone, which we produce when we are fearful and afraid, inhibits repair, leads more likely to death. So, this is our calling, to love. And when we not only believe in love, but act on it, healing and wholeness are possible, where once it seemed impossible. In the end, we do show our commitment to others. As Bell Hooks writes, the moment we choose to love, we begin to move against domination and oppression. The moment we choose to love, we begin to move towards freedom, to act in ways that liberate ourselves and others. So friends, listen to your Unitarian Universalist peers. Love is the path. Love is the destination. The choice, though, of whether or not to follow it is yours. Spirit of life, Spirit of an abundant love, flow in us and through us, and allow us to be the ones who we are waiting for. The ones who show up and rise above fear. The ones who show up and look around to see who is being cast out and to create a world where there are no outcasts. Let us be the ones who prove that love, when a verb, leads to acts of compassion and connection and repair that leads to a wholeness where before was a scar. May each one of us have faith in our fellow travelers and in our collective ability to move love forward and to allow love to be our star. Amen, and blessed be, and happy Valentine's Week. So just a reminder, for those who feel moved to contribute to the Close the Gap campaign, now is the time. Now is the time to help us strengthen this community of love, and we need gifts of generosity at all levels. Everything makes a difference. Don't tell yourself otherwise. At all giving levels. And now in our going, may a spirit of love shine down upon us. May it radiate out from within us. May it be gracious unto us. And may it make of all of us courageous people on fire for liberation. For this is the day that you and I are given. So let us rejoice in it and be glad. Go in peace. Practice love. Choose courage. Amen.